So, Gaffer, training today, I managed to get some way down the training ground. Thanks for letting us in to take some pictures. Great to see everybody. A week into sort of full contact training, how good has that been?
Yeah, really pleased actually. It's, when they're working in the pods, which obviously are there for safety, so there's no problem with that, but it's difficult day after day. Once you start getting into interaction, the players can be more normalised, if you like, in the way they're working. So I think that's been refreshing. There's still a lot of guidelines outside of that, of course. The players currently are still travelling in their kit, work, train. We're allowed to get some food down to them. They then take that food, get back in the car and go. So there are still some very simple guidelines to be adhered to. We're not using the building or anything in a normal fashion. But it is beginning to open up slightly. So hopefully the country's numbers stay good, which is important, of course, and then football in terms of our numbers as well. And then hopefully the guidelines, just keep opening up. So therefore we can get to a more normalised way of working. But at the minute, they're working well within the guidelines and enjoying being back together as a group, I think.
Yeah, as you said, the build-up and around it is probably very different. I imagine as soon as they get on the grass and they start running in the training, it probably feels nearly normal, does it?
Yeah, I think that's been what we forget in our lives. We're all flexible, probably more flexible than you think at times, and they've adapted to it very, very quickly. They still park it at a distance, they walk over to the pitch, they all bring their own bottles of water. We've already got it all laid out for them to work. They then come in and train. They walk off the pitch, after any conditioning or anything they need to do, walk off. Dinner or a light lunch, if you like, is packaged up for them, and a fresh bottle of water that they have to keep themselves, not throwing it around and picking it up and all that. They get back in their cars and they go. So it's quite, I wouldn't say simple. There's been a lot of work goes into it, not by many, not me, but by the medical team, the doctor, to write all the protocols and all the organisation, and heavily guided by the Premier League, of course. But by the time it gets to the players, I'm pleased to say it's been quite simplistic in the way that they can follow it. And they go along with the guidelines nicely at the moment.
And with the weather we've had, has it felt like a pre-season? And it's funny, it isn't a pre-season, but it must almost feel like that, I imagine.
Well, it is of sorts. I mean, they've had a long enough period for it to be a pre-season. So there has been some hard work done already. The players have kept themselves in good nick, which is always gives you a good level base to work from. And then we have now, as you know, and the public know, we've had some clearance to play some friendly games. So, of course, that opens up another sort of guideline to which brings you back to a bit more of a normal situation. So that'll be from next week. We'll be having a practice match amongst ourselves this week to get that sort of game feeling. So like I say, it's beginning to, I can't say normal, but it's beginning to feel more normal. And certainly the training bit feels more normal. And when they finish the training bit, that's the bit that's still a bit peculiar, and the time scales on getting in and going out and all them sorts of things. And the social side of it, of course, is different because they're not in the same dressing room. They're not playing head tennis in the mornings like they normally would. They're not having breakfast here. They're not having lunch. Well, they're having a form of a lunch, but they have to go in their cars. They can't just come to the building. So, there is some adaptations that are still there, but the on-pitch stuff, they've been really good with, and I think they've enjoyed it.
Without going into too many details, Gaffer, there is a line you're going to go down in terms of having a friendly against another club. As you say, you're allowed to do that now. That's something you'll do before the season restarts.
Yeah, and obviously still behind closed doors, we know that. We're working on the idea of having a game the Saturday before the official season. Well, it starts on the Wednesday, but our official season will start the following weekend. We're working on the guidelines for that because that will be like a trial run, if you like, for how the stadium's going to work. We have to even distance the dressing areas, the treatment areas. We have to be distanced with all that, the referees, etc., etc. So there's still a lot of planning from the lads down at the stadium to do, which they're on with now and doing a good job with. And the pitch is now growing out because they relayed it because of how long-winded the break was. So it is beginning to come together and show signs, really positive signs of carrying on. Behind all that, as we know, is still the bigger picture numbers en masse across the country of the illness. If they can stay low, that's very helpful, first of all, to everyone's health, but also the idea of spreading, the idea of therefore locking down. So if that doesn't occur, we are getting more and more positive all the time that the season will start. And I think once it starts, yet again, I think it'll take a lot of stopping outside of the health barrier, of course. That's the priority. But outside of that, then I think it would go ahead at that stage.
I know we talked about last week having that date in the diary is a big boost for everybody to look forward to. Haven't seen the exact fixtures yet, but not a million miles away. And then it is going to be quite a busy old time, isn't it? We know it's going to be 3 midweeks, so it's going to be a lot of games in a short space of time. But it's going to be different, but a feast of football for people to hopefully enjoy.
Yeah, I think, there's been a lot of noise about from varying quarters of the game and inside and out the game, from pundits and managers and coaches and players. Of course, there's always going to be a lot of opinion in a situation like this. It's something we've never been through. The end product is hopefully to get the football played, and if it's played in a tight format, then that's the challenge. It's not, let's put it this way, it's not because everyone designs it like that. It's just by working with what's going on in the country, if not the world at this time. So whatever challenge comes our way, then we've got to try and work to be ready for it, which we will be doing, of course.
Talking of back to yourselves in the training grounds, having some in-house practice games, we saw from the pictures today a few of the younger lads are joining in. Some of the 23 players are with you to sort of, I'm not going to say the phrase make up the numbers, that's not fair, but to give you a bit of depth and obviously, I suppose it encourages them as well to be in and around the first team.
Well, the biggest challenge we've had is obviously we run with a very low squad, to keep the finances at the club on a balanced level. The challenge that beyond that, and obviously this is a challenge none of us knew was going to occur, is when you talk about in-house football, we actually need enough players to do that, of course. So therefore, a lot of the young players, unfortunately, a few of them can't play for us because they've been out on loan, so they can't play. But they can have the first team training schedule, which we're going through now, and of course the challenge of playing against first team players every day. So they're joining in heavily with the training program, although some of them can't play. So it's a kind of trade-off, but they are getting good active training sessions with the first team squad. We will be playing in-house games. They'll definitely be playing parts of that as well. So I think it's good for them nonetheless. It's just a shame because they've been out on loan before all this started that they can't actually come back and play for us in this period.
Yeah. And how are we doing injury-wise? I know you'll be careful with certain players because of the workload that's coming up, but how's everybody looking?
Yeah, Barnes is still not quite right yet. We're still waiting on that. Woody's got a bit of a problem with his Achilles, so we're waiting on more news on that. So obviously that wouldn't be helpful if them two are, not right. But that's an ongoing thing. So wait on them. The others, there's a few aches and pains, but nothing at this stage that's too worrying. Johan's calf's a bit tight as well, but we're hopeful that's settling down. So that's only been a few days as well, by the way. It's not. He's done the first hard work bit of pre-season, so now it's just settling down. So there's a few of them situations, and Robbie missed a day or two and things like that. But mostly it's kind of what pre-season throws up sometimes. We're a bit more hopeful on Barnsley. He's settling down, so hopefully he'll get back into some form of training over the next week or so. Woody, we're not sure on yet. He's going to have to take his time on that and see how that settles down, unfortunately.
The other side, the plus side is lads, people like Jay and Louts who had problems before the break have had a bit of recovery and rehab time and are going well. Yeah, they've been good. And obviously we recently got some good game time into Vids as well. If the other guys are missing, we've got Vids as well. Jay was playing anyway, but it's good that he's recovered. And he's going well, so he's happy with that scenario. Louts is happy with that scenario too. Good. So yeah, there's a balance to the situation. It's just, at this time, because of the guidelines we're going to have to work under, then it's fair to say we want as many fit players as we can. But this is the challenge of having a smaller squad. So that, it's something that we've known for a long time. Vince has still got the goal of the month. He still holds that, doesn't he? A bit like yourself, a manager of the month.
I know. Longest one, I'm sure of it.
And we've seen today that the substitute allocation, so you need a lot of bodies to fill up that bench. You don't have to have 9, I suppose, but they've said you can have 9, which...
Yeah, no, that is the situation at the minute. We'd probably struggle to fill that, whereas other clubs, as we know, they've got lots of players, let's say, so I don't think they'll be struggling to fill it. But anyway, they've agreed that, that's the way it goes yet again. I don't have control over that, neither do our club. There's a vote that's given to the teams and they voted in favour of that, so that's the way it goes.
Just looking at some of the players today, I didn't recognise one or two with the hair growth during the lockdown. There's one or two different looks out there, aren't there? And I'd looked twice in the car and then in the photographs, but they do look fit and healthy and well, though, I've got to say.
Yeah, no, they've come back in good shape. Majority of them have looked after themselves. There's only a couple who haven't. It's not they haven't looked after themselves, just had a few niggles and just had to be a bit more careful. But no, the fitness level's been good on entering back into the programme. Like I say, we've had a couple of bigger pitch scenarios where we played a full-sided game, if you like, and then that will continue on Saturday this week, building up for real fitness, if you like. But no, we're quite happy with the fitness level, the way they've looked after themselves. And now it's getting your eye in, the sharpness. That's going to be the most difficult bit, because in a pre-season scenario, which this kind of is, you'd normally probably have as many as 5 friendlies. You wouldn't play every minute of them, of course, but you'd certainly play 3 90s, maybe 4 even. So to go into this scenario, we're probably going to be looking at more like 2 after quite a long break. But, as I suggested, this is the challenge. You know, it's peculiar times for us all. We work according to the best we can to be right and ready to deliver performances.
And as you just lastly, Gaffer, as you say, hoping everything goes well in the bigger country pitch, and we do kick off on the date schedule just over 2 weeks away. It's nice it's almost within touch and distance. It's been an awful long wait. It must be quite nice to have that sense of being so close to it now, and some real stuff around the corner.
Yeah, definitely. Because at first there was this imaginary picture. It might be 3 or 4 weeks, and then obviously the lockdown period went on a lot longer. Then you're wondering whether football will come back in, and it has done. And it's more or less been timelined what they projected quite a long time ago. They more or less said these timelines were looking how the country was going to start recovering, and that more or less looks good from the Premier League's point of view. Certainly the guidance we've had is leading towards that. So we just hope it continues now. The players are back in there. They're looking sort of clear-eyed, I would say, to get on with the task. And then we want that to continue, of course. But the main thing is, I must reiterate, is the wellness and the health of the country is obviously paramount, but it's looking like, fingers crossed, of course, that things are beginning to control themselves, and that sort of thing, which means it can only be good for us getting on with the task of playing these games.
Really appreciate the update, Gaffer, and we look forward to
Pleasure, Pete.
soon. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.